Welcome to today's webinar hosted by ComplyMarket, your partner in global market access and the total compliance solutions. In this session, we will explore the latest updates on EU rules, exemptions, and the China rules requirements, and demonstrate how ComplyMarket's AI-powered tools help organizations navigate complex compliance landscape across global market. Let's begin by introducing today's presenters. Joining us, Dr. Muhammad Qasim, Head of Consulting and IT at ComplyMarket. Alongside him is Robert Holt, Senior Product Compliance Consultant. ComplyMarket serves a wide range of industries, each with its own regulatory challenges. Our mission is to simplify compliance for every market and every product category. From aviation, automotive, healthcare, and electronics to energy, chemicals, and consumer products, ComplyMarket provides tailored compliance solutions. We also support highly regulated fields such as oil and gas, mining, and the public sector, helping organizations meet local and international standards efficiently. Our expertise extends beyond consultancy. We provide software-driven compliance solutions covering every stage of your product lifecycle. This includes tools for product and material compliance management, sustainability reporting, packaging compliance, authorized representation, and global market access. We also offer modules for digital product passport and extended producer responsibility, all integrated under one intelligent platform. One of our most impactful solutions is a ComplyMarket Product Compliance Requirements module, a digital tool that helps you instantly identify product compliance obligations worldwide. This AI-driven system saves the teams significant time and resources while ensuring accuracy across jurisdictions. This module delivers AI-generated compliance reports for both electrical and non-electrical products, as well as packaging materials. Whether you are dealing with consumer electronics, medical devices, or packaging labeling, ComplyMarket identified the right regulations and standards in any country and language within minutes. This process couldn't be simpler. Just fill in a few fields: article name, description, type, country, and the preferred language. Then click Get Your Report Now. Our system generates a full compliance report specific to your product and the target market, making compliance research seamless and efficient. Moving on, we will now look at the ComplyMarket Product Sustainability and Material Compliance Management module, which also integrates the digital product passport. This module centralizes everything related to product material, compliance, sustainability, reporting, packaging, battery, extending producer responsibility, and supply chain due diligence, all in one place. Here you can see our unified reporting dashboard, which covers all major compliance areas. Users can generate reports for RoHS, REACH, BEFAS, conflict minerals, deforestation regulations, and many others. The system also includes AI-based automatic checks, supplier risk matrices, and compliance statement generators, ensuring your documentation is always audit ready. And finally, this is the bill of materials management interface. Within the same platform, it enables users to manage products, components, materials, and substances in one integrated view. It enables to your team to track every material across the supply chain, from the product level down to individual substances. This tool supports traceability, supplier coordination, and digital product passport readiness. Please contact us for your demo after the webinar. Now, I can hand things over to Mr. Robert.
Thank you very much. Now let's move on to part one of our session, where I'll cover the latest updates on the European Union's RoHS directive, focusing specifically on the changes and exemptions and the most recent European Commission publications. This section will clarify how these updates impact manufacturers, importers, and compliance managers across different product categories and industries. What is Annex 3 and 4 in the RoHS exemptions? But before diving into the updates, it's important to recall the foundation of the RoHS exemptions. Annex 3 includes a list of exemptions that apply to all categories of electrical and electronic equipment, while Annex 4 covers exemptions that apply exclusively to medical devices and monitoring and control instruments. Regarding duration, exemptions are valid for 5 years for categories 1 through 7, 10, and 11, and 7 years for categories 8 and 9. Renewal applications must be submitted 18 months before the exemption expires, and the European Commission must issue a decision no later than 6 months before the expiry date. If an application is rejected, that decision only becomes effective after 12 to 18 months, giving industry time to adapt. Now let's look at how timing and timing gaps affect exemption renewals. Here's how the timing structure works for exemption renewals. If there's less than or equal to 18 months time gap between the Commission's decision and the exemption expiry date, no extension application is possible, meaning the exemption expires permanently. However, if more than 18 months time gap exists, companies can apply for an extension, and the exemption remains valid until a new decision is issued. This mechanism ensures smoother transitions, preventing disruption in supply chains while allowing time for compliance adjustments. The European Commission regularly updates the RoHS exemption list and provides guidance on how to apply or renew them. On September 16, 2025, the Commission released the updated validity and rolling plan for exemptions. The official guidance document and application form are both available on the Commission's website under Implementation of the RoHS Directive. These documents explain how to prepare renewal applications and the information required for a proper technical justification. Now, let's review some of the key exemptions that have recently been updated, starting with entry 6A. This allows lead as an alloying element in steel for machining or galvanized steel up to 0.35% lead by weight. It expires 12 months after the entry into force of the delegated directive, which means it has expired forever. Then entries 6A1 and 6A2 extend similar allowances for certain steel components, valid until June 30th, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Moving to entry 6B, this covers lead in aluminum alloys up to 0.4%, expiring 18 months after enforcement, which means it has expired forever. Entry 6B1, however, specifies cases involving recycled aluminum with different expiry dates for categories 9, industrial, monitoring, and control instruments, and 11, up to June 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. But it is only for the 12-month for categories 1 to 7 and 10, which means it has expired forever under those categories. Let's continue with the next set of exemptions under 6B2 and 6C. 6B2 refers to aluminum used for machining purposes, allowing up to 0.4% lead, with expiry dates aligned to product categories for categories 9, industrial monitoring and control instruments, and 11, up to June 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. It only has 12 months for categories 1 to 7 and 10, which means it has expired forever under those categories. Entry 6B3 covers aluminum casting alloys that originate from lead-bearing recycled aluminum. Again, up to 0.3% lead, expiring on June 30th, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Finally, entry 6C allows for the use of copper alloys containing up to 0.4% lead, which has the same 2012 and 2027 expiry date, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. A critical note here, exemptions do not apply to products accessible to children unless strict limits on lead release rates are met and documented. Now, let's review updates related to high melting temperature solders under exemption group 7A. Exemption 7A relates to lead-based solders with 85% lead by weight or more used in high temperature applications. These apply across all product categories except were already covered by other annex points. And most expire on June 30th, 2027 or December 31st, 2027, depending on the subcategory, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Sub-entries 7A1 and 7A2 describe special uses in semiconductor assemblies and die-attached materials that meet criteria for thermal conductivity, electrical performance, and melting temperature above 260 degrees C. Continuing with 7A3, this exemption covers first-level solder joints in modules and sub-circuit boards, where secondary soldering does not reflow the first level. Then 7A4 applies to second-level solder joints, such as ball grid arrays, or high-temperature overmolding above 220 degrees C. Both subcategories are valid across all product types and expire on December 31st, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. The next set includes 7A5 to 7A7, which involve lead-based solders used as hermetic sealing materials in lamp assemblies or in audio transducers above 200 degrees C. Each of these exemptions are valid until December 31st, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Then we move on to 7C1, which covers lead in glass or ceramic components other than dielectric ceramics, such as piezoelectrical or glass matrix compounds. This exemption applies across all categories and expires on June 30th, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Entry 7C2 refers to dielectric ceramic capacitors operating at 120 volt AC or 250 volt DC or higher, valid until December 31st, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Entry 7C5 extends to lead in glass or glass matrix compounds used for insulation, bonding, resistive materials, or chemically modified glass, with expiry also set for December 31st, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. Finally, entry 7C6 allows lead in ceramic components for PZT ceramics or those providing positive temperature coefficient, PTC, properties. This exemption applies to all categories, excluding overlaps, and is also valid until December 31st, 2027, which means we still have a chance to apply for an extension. These updates underline the EU's gradual phase-out strategy, balancing technical feasibility with environmental responsibility. Now let's wrap up part one with a quick conclusion on the EU RoHS exemptions procedure. Based on the most recent updates, only a few exemptions have officially expired with no possibility for renewal. These include 6A, lead in steel for machining purposes and galvanized steel. 6B, lead in aluminum alloys except for categories 9, industrial monitoring and control instruments, and 11. 6B1, recycled aluminum containing lead except for categories 9, again, industrial monitoring controls and instruments, and 11. 6B2, aluminum for machining purposes, again, except for categories 9, industrial monitoring and control instruments, and 11. These four exemptions are now considered expired forever, meaning they are no longer valid under any category. However, for all other applications, there's still an opportunity to apply for an extension, provided the renewal application is submitted within the required time frame, at least 18 months before the current expiry. So if your products still rely on other exemption entries, you can still secure continuity by submitting an updated extension application through the European Commission process. To make that process faster and easier, let's look at how ComplyMarket's AI tools can help you prepare for a RoHS exemption extension application in minutes. Traditionally, preparing an exemption renewal application could take several weeks or even months, requiring extensive research, technical justification, and documentation. With ComplyMarket's AI-powered application tool, this process can now be completed in just a few minutes. As you can see on the screen, the tool simplifies everything. You only need to provide a few key details. As you can see on the screen, yes, You need to just enter company name and contact information, your product description and RoHS category, the components using exemptions, and the specific exemption number you wish to extend. Once you enter these details and click Start, the ComplyMarket system generates a ready-to-submit extension application fully aligned with the European Commission requirements. You can access this tool directly at ComplyMarket's website. What this means is that companies no longer need to spend many weeks or even months preparing technical documentation manually. With ComplyMarket AI, you can generate, review, and submit compliant applications, saving time, ensuring accuracy, and reducing risk. Once the application is generated, you can directly send the application to this address. And this is an example of the extension application.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. That was amazing, actually. Thank you so much. And I would like to share a real report of our extension application. I will share it in the chat here if it is possible, otherwise per email as well. And let me share another screen so we can go within the content of an extension application. Yeah, that's an example of an extension application that usually a company will need a few months to prepare. It was generated using our AI machine in just a few minutes. And you can, first section starting with contact details, second reason for the application, and technical background and justification, environmental and health consideration, availability of technically viable alternatives, socioeconomic impact, proposed duration of extension, and summary of the exemption request. It is 70 pages actually generated in just 5 minutes, and technical description of the exemption, environmental assessment, technical description. Technical description is many subdivisions, so you can see technical description, but the subtitle after is different. Revocation request. And here, particular characteristics and function of the RoHS regular substance. Like each of those sections, you will need to spend a couple of weeks to really get the information and organize them. But with progress in AI and technology, things have changed dramatically. Here, justification according to Article 5.1 A and P, elimination and substitutions. Other relevant information I would like to share with the Commission. This results can pick up also crawl something. It's amazing. References you may need, third-party verified documentations, it can find something for you as well. And the references you need, and roadmap for further technical development. Yeah, you can see how powerful is this tool. I believe if the EU Commission will see how technology has developed, maybe they are going to change the way of working. But let us use the chance, and we can all of us get RoHS extension applications prepared and just submit them per email to the European Commission. So you can reduce your industry costs. You don't need to go for expensive alternatives. Just submit an extension for an exemption extension application. Quite simple, quite easy now. It's no longer magic. Yeah. Now we continue to another part of today's webinar, and we speak about China RoHS. China RoHS as well has got a very critical update. When was it? It was 1st of August 25, and it will be mandatory on 1st of August 27. But assuming you need to change labeling of all your products, I think the time you have is quite short because 2 years will pass kind of a second in reality. The new standard GB 26752 for year 25. What is new? We still have category one and category two of products, and category one of products they need just the general label, and category two where you are really must stick to the limits. We have here 10 restricted substances like euros. Like in the past, we used to have under China only 6 substances, but now we have the phthalates. The 4 phthalate substances, we have them as well now. And you need to change your labeling to consider the new 4 phthalates as well. That may affect all your products, the way how you used to label your products. Something new that you can use a QR code for the famous China RoHS table, but you can insert this QR code in your manual. We still use for testing GBT 39560, which is China adoption of ISE 62321. We have a transition for stock for authorities clarifies that products made or imported before August 27 may continue to be sold or used from the 13 months after implementation. But all newly produced imported goods must comply. We have also to keep in mind another standard which is very connected to the previous one, which is SG T11364 for 2024, and it was approved on 25th of December last year and took into force already on 1st of April 25. And it has replaced the old standard, which was for 2014. So after 10 years, it got a critical update. The wording itself has changed, and I'm going to share with you sorry, a template that you can just use as it, and that will save you tremendous amount of time. You need to you add to China table the 4 phthalates. You can use a QR label, but it printed on the manual. For digital built-in label permitted for products with a display must be viewable in UI while running and set read only at factory. And labeling carrier is allowed to website. You have obligations of data retention, must keep your technical documentations, and you need to do housekeeping changes to delete the old production date display method because documents. For labeling requirements, we have 2 cases how to label your products. So if your products are completely free of RoHS substances, the 10 substances, if you are below the limit for all of them, including phthalates, you can use this one, this E in green, Can also print it in black and white. It's already allowed. However, if you use any of substances, of the 10 raw substances, then you need to use the orange one, and you need to determine the environmental friendly use period of your products, which is a number inserted here for purpose of simplicity. By the way, this number starts from 5, and you can use 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but above 10 you can increase with 15, 20, 25, and so on. It's not, this number is not a magic or hard to calculate. There are just see the best practice in the industry, what is known for such product category. There is a method to calculate it because usually it does cover the whole time from the date you start producing, you have produced the product until the end of life of the product, until the product will be disposed. Um, if you do a repairing for a product, if it is a product that you can repair, then you have to consider this time as part of the life of the product. If you have a product that when it is shut down, you cannot repair it, so you stop at this point. But if you have a product that you can repair it many times, then you consider this period as well as part of the life of your product and the number you are going to print. When you use the orange one, the orange label, you must print China RoHS table, and thus has changed dramatically since the last time. And next slide explains that. See now this table, which used to be famous in China, that what you are going to change for all your products, because most of us are using at least one of those exemptions. And if you use any of those exemptions, you cannot print the pure green label. You need to use the orange one because they are using raw substances. And then because you have used lead or cadmium or any raw substances, now you must print this label, this table, and attach it or print it on your manual. You can print on a manual a digital code, and which can be scanned, and it will be linked to our website. Then we'll find this table on our website. That's already also fine and accepted. That's something great about New China RoHS. X refers that you are using this substance or not. So we are making a random example, but the Chinese wording here, it does have a lot of requirements that you must stick to. How we are writing in Chinese here is not by chance. We have to use simplified Chinese, and we have to keep us this way of writing. Like if we end a Chinese word, um, then we keep the other word below it. That's so. Here we tried for phytalaces. The name was quite complicated. So, but we find like because we deal it as one cell. So how to deal with complex name like phytalase, and when you print, you handle it as a one cell. So here in the Excel file, it was one cell, so it was okay, but you cannot make it into 2 lines. That's forbidden. So that's new way of writing. Also, those notes below the table have changed completely because we refer now to new standards, and we have to keep attention to very small details. Like some easy example, do you see this small dot? Looks simple, but that's a Chinese dot. You cannot use the English dot. It looks very small things, but if you don't keep attention to them, you land to that you are not conform at the end. And when I wrote English, I use English dot. When I write Chinese, then I need to use the Chinese dot. And we changed also the standard. We are referring to the new standard ending 24 and the other standard ending 25, both of them. We have another step in China rules that we need to consider. We have some product categories that when you use them, you must really be RoHS conform. Like in general, China rules used to be just use whatever you want, but just put a label on a product. So no restriction. But they came in 2019 and the Chinese government has proposed 12 product categories and said if you are using any of them, you really must be RoHS conform. You cannot use RoHS substances. And those, as you can see, refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machines, electrical water heaters, printers, copiers, fax machines, televisions, monitors, microcomputers, mobile communications, and telephones. What to do for those 12 categories? You need to have conformity assessment, like similar to the way you do it for the EU, your technical file. You can either do that with a test report from a qualified laboratory, or you can collect information from your suppliers, and that's allowed. And you need to keep retention of your technical documents as evidence of your compliance, and you still be allowed to do self-declaration, or you can certify if you want to get more credibility in the market. That's an option as well. There is also a Chinese portal that importers must enter information in it and the declaration of conformity 1 month before you ship to China. Many importers used to miss this critical step. If you opt to do self-declaration for those 12 categories, then you put this label. You put this label next to the original label, so it's not alone. The original green label, which I showed in the beginning. So you put both of them next to each others. That's when you have those 12 categories. If you wanted to do state promoted voluntary certification, then you can use this label, and which means you are certified here, name of the certified body, and you put that next also to the green label. Regarding the size, if the logo must be placed on the product, but if you have very small product without a surface, with a surface less than 5 millimeters, those products you are allowed here to put information on the packaging or even on the product manual. This is my last slide before opening the session for questions. If you have any questions, please write us an email at info@complymarket.com. Ask us your questions, book a demo with us.